You guessed it, it's Mr. Archey. I'm here to read you another story. Um, this particular story is probably one of my all-time favorite stories. It is by Patricia Polacco. It is titled My Rotten Red-Headed Older Brother. Luckily for me, I don't have an older brother. I have a younger brother. So I guess technically I'd be the rotten older brother. Although if you ask my older brother, I think he'd say that I wasn't as rotten as I could have been. Wasn't perfect, but I don't think I was anything like our friend Patricia's older brother. So anyway, this is our story, My Rotten Red-Headed Older Brother. It is by Patricia Polacco. So let's read to find out just how rotten this older brother is. Oh, actually, you know what? Before we do, I just want to kind of get closer to the screen here. We have some old actual photos of Patricia and her brother. Just in case you were wondering, there is some truth to this. She does have an older brother. He is a redhead. Oh. We'll have to find out if what she's actually describing actually happened, though. So, without any further ado, we will read My Rotten Red-Headed Older Brother. My brother and our mother and I all lived with my grandparents on their farm in Union City, Michigan. Now my babushka, my grandmother, knew lots of things. She knew just how to tell a good story. She knew how to make ordinary things magical, and she knew how to make the best chocolate cake in Michigan. After she told my brother and me a grand tale from her homeland, we'd always ask, "Bubby, is that true?" She'd answer, "Of course it's true, but it may not have happened." Then she'd laugh. Interesting. Now, I knew that she loved me all right, but I couldn't quite understand how she could even like my older brother Richard. He had orange hair that was like wire. He was covered in freckles and looked like a weasel with glasses. The one thing my bubby didn't seem to know was how perfectly awful my brother really was. Mind you, he was always nice whenever she was around, but as soon as she'd leave, he would do something terrible to me and laugh. And here we see our friend Richard here taunting Patricia. Looks like he's holding her doll above her head here. Not very nice. There were so many things I couldn't stand about him. The worst was that he was always telling me he could do just about anything better than I. "Bet I can pick more blackberries than you can," he jeered at me one day. "No, you can't." "Can so." "Cannot." "Can," he whispered. "Not," I said louder. He whispered so low I could hardly hear him. "Not," I screamed back. And here we see them going back and forth, along with the other animals that lived on the farm. We both picked berries for most of the afternoon. Well, he upped and did it. He not only picked more berries than I, he set a record that wasn't even challenged for the next 10 years. "You make me sick, Richard Barber," I yelled at him. Then he smiled that smile only a rotten, red-headed older brother can smile. Look at him with his surplus of berries. That's a vocabulary word from earlier this year. I guess I would have to face it. He could run the fastest, climb the highest, throw the farthest, sit the longest, get the dirtiest, burp the loudest, and spit the farthest. He had no equal, certainly not me. "And I'm 4 years older than you. Always have been, and always will be," he sneered. He's not very gracious. There had to be something I could do that he couldn't. Then an inspired thought comforted me like a fresh breeze on a hot summer day. "Oh, Richie," I cooed as I stood next to the rhubarb bushes. "Do you like rhubarb?" "No," he said. "It's the sourest stuff on this planet." Now I knew, at long last, that I had him. "Bet I could eat more of this raw rhubarb than you can without getting the puckers," I challenged. I don't think so. I do. I don't, he said, narrowing his eyes. I do, I insisted. Don't, he hissed, looking smug. Do, I said furiously as I grabbed the first stalk and started chewing it almost down to the leaf. Looks like Patricia's doing the taunting now. When I couldn't get one more sour bite into my mouth, he was still eating with relish. I thought you said you didn't like rhubarb, I said through pursed lips. I don't like it. I love it, he announced as he packed the last stalk into his mouth. I was so mad, I couldn't even feel how my belly was starting to ache. I can't stand you, Richard Barber. I double dog can't stand you, I screamed as I went into the house to be consoled by my grandmother. Yeah, and I'm 4 years older than you too, you little twerp. Always have been and always will be, he called after me. Then he laughed that rotten, older, red-headed brother laugh. Man, he seems mean. That night at dinner, I could hardly eat. Have you been eating angry apples again, child? Bubby asked as she sliced me one huge wedge of rhubarb pie. I baked your favorite. Richard gave me one of those extra rotten, weasel-eyed, greeny-toothed grins. And there we see him, once again taunting his little sister. At bedtime, my Bubby came and sat on the edge of my bed like she did every night. Look, a falling star, she said. We watched it streak across the sky. Then she spit twice between her fingers and gave her chest a loud slap. Why did you do that, Bubby? I asked. I was making a wish. Didn't you know that wishes on falling stars come true? At last, I knew how I was going to get back at my brother. For the longest time, I watched the dark sky until I saw a star shoot across the night. Then I spit between my two fingers and slapped my chest. It was done. My wish was to do something, anything, better than my brother. I'd show him. And here we see Bubby with Patricia looking up into the night sky. And there we can see our shooting star. The next morning, all I could think about was my wish. I was thinking about it so hard, I almost didn't notice the wagons and trucks pulling into the field down near Four Corners. A traveling carnival, my brother shouted as he ran towards me. They're setting up right here in our field. Bet I can eat more hot dogs than you can, he said. He was already starting it, but this time I was going to do something so incredible that even he would have to sit up and take notice. I had a star wish. I'd show my rotten, red-headed older brother all right. And here we see the carnival. And some popcorn in the background. The all-important carousel. Wonder if that's going to have anything to do with our story. That night, I ran straight for the merry-go-round. We must have taken 50 turns on that carousel. But then my brother got off. I stayed on. I went around and around and around. I knew I could do this longer than you, I shouted to my brother, feeling proud, but just a bit dizzy. Trisha, I heard my Bubby call out. Get off from that thing. It's time to go home. And there she is, in all her glory, riding that horse. It looks actually pretty real, huh? Patricia Polanco is pretty talented as an illustrator as well. The last thing I remembered was stepping off from the platform. The next thing I knew, I woke up with Bubby sitting on the edge of my bed. Mom and Grandpa were there too. You gave us all a fright, Mama said. How do you feel? What happened, I asked. You fell, my rotten, red-headed older brother announced with the biggest grin on his face. I don't know what we would have done, my Bubby said softly. Your brother carried you all the way home. Then he had to run to get Dr. Lee. Let me see the family. Maybe there's a glimmer of hope for Richard after all. You had to have stitches. And I watched it all, he said excitedly. You fell off the merry-go-round right into some pop bottles, my gramps added. You even passed out, my brother chirps. Looks like you finally did something special. It was from that exact moment that our relationship had changed somehow. Thanks, Richie, I said to him. What's a big brother for anyway, he said, blushing. If you look very closely, you can see that Patricia Polacco has actually put a real photo of her and her brother in that illustration. Kind of a cool little Easter egg if you notice it. That night, we were all out in the yard. On hot Michigan nights, it was my family's custom to sleep outside, where it's cool. Look at those stars, Bubby said quietly. Wishes are funny, aren't they? I said. Sometimes they come true differently than you think they will. That's why you have to be very careful what you wish for. It may just come true, Bubby said. Then she squeezed both of our hands. Hang on to the grass, she whispered. Why, Bub? My brother said. Because if we don't, we might float up to the stars. Then she leaned over and kissed us both 3 times. I kiss your eyes, and I hold both of your hearts in my good keeping. And that night, I thank God that I walked this earth with both of you. Amen. Namaste, Bubba. Bubby, rather, sorry. She's with the brother and Patricia, looking up at the stars. Then we all just lay on our blankets in the gentle summer night. I'll always be 4 years older than you, though, my brother whispered softly. Then he smiled. All of us held one another's hands, and then we all drifted off to sleep. Here we have our final scene. Very peaceful night. And that does conclude our story for today. So once again, that was My Rotten Red-Headed Older Brother by Patricia Polacco. Stay tuned for our next story. Have a great rest of your day.